Good afternoon, everyone. I'm John Schwitty with Time Warner Cable in the U.S. I did work for Teleglobe for many, many years, and actually lived in Montreal for a few of those years. So, I guess token American or honorary Canadian, one or the other. So the outline of my talk is going to be tell a little quick slide about Time Warner Cable, our current status on IPv6, how we got to where we are today, and what we have left to do, and a slide or two on future networking thoughts. So Time Warner Cable, we're the second largest MSO in the U.S. We have over 14 million subscribers, residential and small medium businesses, and our major service areas are New York City, LA, Texas, upstate New York, Ohio, Carolinas, and Hawaii. I've visited all of those so far, but Hawaii. For some reason, they don't like to send us over there. Okay, so current status today for our IPv6 within Time Warner Cable. Our national backbone, we're dual stacked, supports IPv6 services, and we do peering. All our peers that will do IPv6 with us, we're peering with. Looking at Owen and thinking, yeah, we're doing IPv6 with her. Okay. Regional backbones are all dual stacked. They all support IPv6 services and connects to our national backbone. All our peering is done off of the national backbone, not into the regions any longer. That was one of the things we really had to do in order to get ready to move to the dual stacking IPv6. So our access networks, when you start getting down into where the actual services are delivered, they're IPv6 enabled. We have dedicated IPv6 internet access for our commercial customers and residential cable modems in trial. And right now it's just trials with friendlies. Friendlies are, of course, Time Warner Cable employees. We actually have, I believe, 2 friendlies that are actually using IPv6 natively from their residents. So it does, as Jacques said, it does work. It's just the scale and getting the other 14 or 13 million customers on using it. Our data centers are all IPv6 network connectivity. They support some IPv6 services and they connect to our regional backbones. Systems. So we have, as a cable company, we have a ton of unique systems within the company to do the provisioning of the cable modems, the billing, and DNS, all the different services you can think of. And Time Warner went the way of course, building all their own. So to get them IPv6 enabled, we had to have our internal programmers go through and bring them all up to IPv6, which at this point in time, over 90% of them are done. There's still some minor bugs and interoperability issues with some of the systems. A lot of it comes into with the cable modem provisioning and the provisioning system that does that, and the files that it pushes out, and getting through the CMTS. It gets a little complicated because of the way the vendors have written the code for IPv6. It doesn't necessarily take into consideration some of the things that our actual provisioning system needs, such as modem counts and things like that. And we've actually had bugs that I don't know, they're bugs, and they broke our systems, but they probably wouldn't break anybody else's systems. So that was a unique challenge. Our commercial services, we had a launch in September, although I think it was held up for a couple of weeks because one of our commercial director wanted to revisit the IPv6 addressing scheme, and so we had to take a couple of weeks to just let them know that it was fine the way it was. The residential trials are gearing up. There's a URL here for anybody that has Time Warner Cable. I know Dan York does. He asked me about it. We're going to get him taken care of. And peering. So how we got to where we are today. It was really a lot of hard work. 3 years ago, well, it was about 3 years ago and 3 months that I started working for Time Warner Cable, and at that point in time, they were, yeah, we'll do V6 when we need to do V6, when we run out of V4. I don't think they realized what they were saying at the time. So anyway, we went out and hired, Lee Howard was brought in about 3 months after I was brought on. And probably a lot of you have heard of Lee Howard. He's one of the IPv6 evangelists that travels around and spreads the gospel on V6. And he came in and he took over, he started our IPv6 program. It was launched in late 2008, as I said. Lee heads it up. There were over 20 project managers involved, and lots of internal education was required. So I've got a list here of some of the things that he went through. Identifying owners, having the resources committed, because as my fellow panel members have noted, it takes money to do anything, and there wasn't any money to do V6. So we had to figure out how to get it done without a huge budget. Planning meetings, updating meetings, internal meetings, addressing plans, obsolete, identifying, doing the inventory, identifying the obsolete hardware that would have to be replaced. Managing the vendors, both on the hardware and the software side. I think that's probably been the hardest of all. Vendors just don't listen, they don't get it a lot of times. That really is where we're stalled right now, is on our CMTS. So I guess everybody knows what a CMTS is. Anyway, it's the cable modem terminations. It's the demarc between DOCSIS and IP. Let's see. Documentation, install guides, configuration guides, technical bulletins, training materials, deployment of features, coordination of trials. I mean, just everything that you can imagine. But it's quite a large. We have a large network and a lot of customers, so it's even more work. We have, I think, 3 years ago we had over 50 separate divisions that all acted on their own, and then we got them rolled into 7 regions, and now we're down to 2 regions, so the management and the central control is a lot better, and it makes it a lot easier. Network upgrade, coordinated effort of architecture, engineering, quality assurance, and operations. Everything has to, architecture does the work, engineering does all the testing, hands it off to QA for further testing, and then it rolls out to operations. We did it in a 4-phase rollout. So there was a technical bulletins written for each one of these phases, and our operations guys oversaw each one of the regions going through and upgrading all the equipment that they had to. And again, the systems, same thing, 3-year process. All the systems had to be upgraded. A lot of hard work before. So what we have left to do, our major issues is the home networking, routers, game systems, home gateways, the cable modems and MTAs, and the computer systems. There's a big effort being put on CPE right now. I know John Brzezowski from Comcast is heading up a working group that's got the actual vendors that are, make the CPE. Most of them are all part of this working group, and there's a good effort underway to get a lot of that taken care of. Our cable modems, that's, it's what could be expected. There's a lot of different providers. We had a ton of vendors. We're narrowing it down to, I think we're trying to get it under 14 now. So we'll get that down even farther, so we can actually focus in on the ones that we want to use and we want to push the features that we need. Let's see, replacement. Yeah, and then like I mentioned, when we went through and did the inventory, everything that isn't able to support dual stack, we have to replace, and that runs the gauntlet from our old GSRs and some of their SIPs and SPAs, and all the way down to some of the CMTSs and QAMs and stuff. So at the The last panel I gave this talk at, we were asked to give some future networking thoughts. So this is from an engineer at Time Warner Cable. I think some of you might know him, Jason Weil. So some of his thoughts on future networking for the home network is increase in the number of isolated networks in the home. In other words, more SSIDs. You could have, one for guests. You could have one for anybody that is a Time Warner Cable customer maybe and happens to be at the park near some homes that have it. So there's a guest SSID where they can log in. Home security and automation. We're starting to roll out some of that. Multi-router, including support for arbitrary topology. So that's just, being able to have more sophisticated networks in the home. And being multi-connected. In other words, having separate providers, being dual homed out of your house, out of your home. And then the smart energy applications and appliances. Let's see, these thoughts here. IPv6 will bring about the following: massive public address space, capable of supporting every device with a unique IP. So you've all heard the light bulbs and the refrigerators and the stoves and all that. Multiple routed segments, and exponential increase in complexity will have to be balanced with all the configuration of the home network. That all goes into who's going to actually go out to your home and set up your networking stuff for you. Auto configuration probably isn't going to be that easy to start with. But that brings me to the end. Thank you very much.